So, let's talk about a powerful idea, a mental model that might just change how you judge, well, pretty much everyone. It's called the surgeon paradox, and it shows us why real expertise often comes in the most unexpected packages.
Okay, let's just dive right in with a scenario. I want you to imagine you're on a hospital gurney. Your appendix is about to burst. Seriously, the clock is ticking, and you have to choose your surgeon based on nothing more than a first impression. This isn't just some theory, right? This feels like a life or death decision.
So on your left, you've got Dr. Sterling. This guy looks like he was designed by a marketing committee. You know the type. Perfect silver hair, spotless scrubs, a voice that just sounds confident. He's literally the guy you see on the hospital billboard. And on your right, there's Dr. Miller. He looks like a real person. His glasses are a little crooked, he's a bit rumpled, and he's definitely not focused on his appearance. So, who do you pick? Who gets your trust in that moment?
Now, if you're like most of us, your gut is screaming for Dr. Sterling. But here's the twist. According to thinkers like Nassim Taleb, your life is actually in much, much better hands with Dr. Miller, the unpolished winner. Let's unpack exactly why that is. This is the heart of the surgeon paradox. In any job where the results are totally clear-cut, I'm talking you either save the patient or you don't, you fix the leaky pipes or you don't, the person who doesn't fit that stereotypical image, they've had to be twice as good just to get in the room. Their skill had to be so undeniable that it completely overcame any bias against their appearance.
Nassim Taleb puts it perfectly. He argues that the person who looks like they're from central casting for their job, they get the benefit of the doubt, right? Their look does half the work for them. But the person who lacks that aesthetic of the role, well, they couldn't rely on charm or a fancy suit. They had to rely on one thing and one thing only: pure, raw competence. They have more skin in the game. And you know, this isn't some newfangled idea. This paradox is a pattern you can see woven all throughout history, proving that substance has always, eventually, won out over style.
For example, just take the Victorian era. Back then, science was a gentleman's game. To be taken seriously, you absolutely needed the right accent, the right social connections, the right clothes. Appearance was pretty much everything.
So on one side, you had a guy like Humphrey Davy. He was the polished, upper-class chemist. He was basically the Dr. Sterling of his day. And then, working in his lab, you had Michael Faraday. He was the son of a blacksmith, zero formal education. Faraday didn't look the part, he didn't sound the part, and he certainly wasn't born into the part.
And this is where the paradox just shines. Faraday went on to discover electromagnetic induction. I mean, the very principle that makes electric motors and generators possible. He fundamentally changed the world. He had to be a literal genius because his talent was the only currency he had. It was so overwhelming that the establishment just had no choice but to recognize it.
This principle isn't just stuck in the world of science. It even shows up in ancient spiritual texts. This prophecy from the book of Isaiah describes a savior who would be, well, completely unimpressive on the outside. No majesty, no beauty, absolutely nothing in his appearance to draw people in. And that prophecy played out in a really remarkable way. Humanity was expecting a king, right? A Dr. Sterling of saviors. Instead, they got a carpenter's son from Nazareth, a place people used to say nothing good could ever come from. The packaging was just so plain, it forced people to actually grapple with the substance of his words and his actions. It's the ultimate example of incredible power hiding in plain sight.
Okay, so what's really fascinating here is why we keep making this mistake. Why are our brains so easily fooled by a good suit or a confident smile? Well, it all comes down to a really sneaky mental shortcut.
It's called the halo effect. See, our brains are wired for efficiency, not always for accuracy. They love taking shortcuts. So when we see one obviously positive trait, like someone being attractive or well-dressed, we unconsciously put a halo of other positive traits on them. We just assume they must also be competent, intelligent, and trustworthy.
It's a really simple and dangerously flawed two-step process. First, we see that polished look. And second, our brain just leaps to the conclusion of total competence, all without a shred of actual evidence. It's basically a cognitive illusion.
So here's the crucial point. There's a practical zero-sum game being played here. Every single hour that someone spends perfecting their image, crafting their personal brand, or practicing their handshake is an hour they are not spending mastering their craft, reading the latest research, or actually honing their skills.
Okay, so we've gone through the theory, the history, and the psychology. Now we get to the most important part. How do we put this surgeon paradox to work in our own lives starting like tomorrow?
It's actually pretty simple. If you're hiring someone, maybe give a second look to the candidate who doesn't quite fit that slick corporate mold. Chances are they had to be even better just to get the same interview. If you're looking for advice, be a little wary of the guru with the perfect social media feed. Real experts are often way too busy in the trenches to curate an image. And for yourself, hey, maybe start to embrace your own lack of polish. It might just be your greatest signal of authenticity.
At the end of the day, it all comes back to this one simple truth. When the stakes are real, when results are the only thing that matters, you don't need the person who looks good on the billboard. You need the person who actually knows how to do the job. So, I'll leave you with a question to think about. Who in your own life, maybe at work, in your community, or even when you look in the mirror, have you misjudged? Whose incredible substance have you completely overlooked simply because you were distracted by their style? Or maybe their lack of it?